What's good with YouTube? You already know Big Flacco with the convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through a little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel. Hit that bell notification for future fire content. Okay, so yesterday I did a convict reaction to the situation with Chito Ranas, the way he was acting on the Mr. Criminal's podcast. I thought that Mr. Criminal should have shut it down and reached out to the youngster. Now you got a whole total different situation. Since then, he's been actively associating himself with Swifty Blue, who's been acting kind of like a little bit still immature, as we already know. Swifty Blue, the South Sider version of a Tekashi 6ix9ine is how I look at him, because this is exactly how he acts, right? Attention seeker and whatnot. So, but check this out, though. The thing about this was this, right, is there's a lot of whole different components and dynamics to this situation based upon what happened. So apparently, they were shown disrespect Northerners a little bit. They took some individual Talibans from Sacramento. I think it's from the north side. This is information I've gathered. I'm saying? I'm going to still cross-check a little bit more, but allegedly, this individual was Taliban. That was his nickname. He was from the north side of Sacramento. He was a Northerner. And him and Chito Ranas actually had some past history. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, there's a video where Chito Ranas is in a probation department, right? And there's a Northerner who's filming him talking shit to him, calling him all kinds of derogatory terms and whatnot. Now, allegedly, I can't totally confirm this individual that got his chain took, right, was that individual who caught Chito Ranas in the probation office talking shit. Now, first and foremost, the Northerner that did that, like I said, I got to be equal across the board when it comes to issues like this. He's out of pocket. He's fucking wrong. He should have never did that. That's like dry snitching. That's like cell soldiering. That's the same fucking thing, knowing that he's on probation and you're talking shit at a probation office. You can't respect the man that does that. Okay? Just like those North Daniels that pulled up on Sir Dino talking shit, Poodle North, they fuck Jesus and all that. You can't respect dudes like that. The same thing with this individual. He should have got checked. He should have got DP'd, fined, whatever they wanted to do for that. That's why it's hard for me to sit there and say that Chito Ranas is actually wrong in this. I hate to say it, man. Now, with everything that's going on, and that he's a social media, rapper and so forth, it makes it kind of difficult to support that, because you're going to get nothing but negative attention, from law enforcement and what he's putting himself on Front Street. But in some senses, think about it. He actually got his revenge. And I hate to say it, man. I don't agree with it, but then I agree with it. Because as a man, if someone comes up to you and disrespects you and puts you in a situation where you can't act, you know what I'm saying? How are you going to feel about that when you catch that person later on and don't do nothing about it? He was put in the position where he had to act on it, in what I believe. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really knock him for doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's just turning him into a gang thing is two different things, though. Just because that dude was wrong in how he approached it does not mean Swifty and Chito Ranas have to sit there and talk shit about the North End and woo, and because that's going to bring nothing but negativity, period. Now, we already know what's going to happen. As much as I'm very critical of a lot of the rappers at times from down south, because I think that they have too much free reign over social media to do as they want. And sometimes I feel like they overstep their boundaries as far as disrespecting the North. I still got to call shit out from the North when it's wrong. And what this dude that Taliban did, if it was him, was wrong. Maybe it was just in response to that. Who knows? Chito Ranas has been going through a lot of shit. And that's why I said the timing of this was not good. And to go on social media, that was more of an ego check. Because maybe he felt a certain way with what happened at the probation office. Like, I would too. And I'm just keeping it real 100. I don't support it, but I get it, because I probably would do the same fucking thing if I was in his shoes. And that's just the truth of it. Now, Swifty Blue was getting very animated about it as well. Now, I got to pose this question. That leaves Gold Toes in an uncompromising situation to where he has to act now. You know what I'm saying? If he has any type of love for the North End and the homeboys and was involved in any form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? As we do know, he's going to have no choice but to pretty much cut ties with fucking Swifty, I think. That's what I personally believe. Because otherwise, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to come from the sidelines talking a lot of smack. You know what I'm saying? Based upon this incident. You know what I'm saying? The bad thing is when it comes to prison politics and being active in gangs, if I was still an active gang member, I would have to probably still side with the individual from Sacramento, Taliban. If it was him, whoever, if it was over that issue, I'd have to still side with him. But he'd be getting disciplined, he'd be getting fined, and he'd be on Front Street. Now, say if it wasn't him and they just decided to target any, Northerner they seen, then Chito, Ranas, and fucking Swifty, they're playing with fire, man. You know what I'm saying? They're playing with fire, because eventually you're going to get caught slipping somewhere, and that's the thing about the social media things that I see nowadays. I watch a lot of these videos of gangsters from down south, right? Youngsters, about watching them go into other hoods and jumping cats and going into other hoods and fucking tagging in their neighborhoods and crossing them out. All that's going to bring is get out. All it's going to bring is straight war, man. That's the ultimate type of disrespect that you can find out there in the Gaias. So, with this, like I said, man, Swifty may have probably provoked it. Or even if it wasn't Swifty, it could have been anybody provoking it. But you, as an individual that maybe has your life more together, any of these guys, right, is where people have to sit there and say, look, man, look at the media attention. Look what you just did the other day. Everybody's going to think that you're running on a road program, that you're a renegade out there doing what you want, and that you don't care about your life. And a lot of times, believe it or not, when people see you stop caring about your life is when you're going to maybe lose that support. Now, this is just my perspective of things, man. Like I said, I don't know all the full details, but that's some of the information that I've gathered. I felt Mr. Criminal should have been there in a whole different limelight as far as reaching out, pulling him to the side. And if he didn't want to do it, guide him to the person who would. Because this is just within 72 hours. Look at the stuff that he's already done. The actions, he goes from talking about hating jail and Sacramento's trying to do this and that to fucking, talking about, yeah, fuck it, I go back. He's very erratic right now, but I can't sit there and fault him for what he did. If the information I've gathered is to be true, which I'm not saying it is, I can't fault him for it. I really can't. The appropriate thing for me to say would be, nah, it's wrong, period. Which in society's eyes it is. Which I need to start thinking more like a citizen when it comes to these matters. But even as a citizen, if someone did something like that to me, where it's like someone on YouTube, someone talking all that gang of high power shit that they're gonna do this and that and calling you this and that. You now catch them slipping somewhere. What are you going to do? You're going to handle your fucking business regardless as a man, right? Because doing it over this and doing it, attacking people, over the internet has always been looked at as a cowardice act. Now, I know I've responded to people on here because that's been my only fucking tool. But at the end of the day, I really don't believe in doing that. Just sometimes you got to show people that you're ready to clap back, that you're not just accepting it. So I watched the video. And, Gold Toes is going to have to make a decision on this, like I said, man. And regardless of what he may feel or whatever relationship he has with Swifty, he may have to do it just to save face with his own people from where he's from. I mean, personally, that's what I think is going to have to happen. Do I care if that happens or not? No. Do I have any issues against Gold Toes? Nah, I think Gold Toes is a fucking successful fucking, businessman. And I wish him all the support in everything that he does. Because he's done it right. Whatever people have to say about him, some people say positive things, some people say negative things. He's done it, and he's made it for a lot of people to come onto his platform and do the things that they do. So you can't take nothing from that man. But there's going to be some issues if this is allowed and accepted. If Swifty is allowed to continue to, rock and be distributed under his label, I think that there's going to be some consequences behind that. There's going to be some big homies pissed off. That's just my opinion. And I don't mean to fucking sit there and throw him under the bus like that, but this is nothing that we already don't know, right? It's all out there in the open. There's people that are already fucking thinking about this right now and thinking of ways to capitalize off it. And that's the truth. As far as Chito Ranas, like I said, man, he's a youngster. He just got out of jail. He got all these issues going on, man. Sometimes you got to step on back and take a look at your life and your decisions and choices, and maybe look at the choices of other people. And is this what you want? Because when I seen that video the other day, where he was in a vulnerable spot, which I still think that video should have been fucking took it down there right now I think the interview should have been ended. That's just my personal opinion. If you feel different, that's okay. But he showed a lot of vulnerability. And in that game, right, in the prison confines of politics, guerra, and decisions and choices, things like that could always be used against you in the future. Because they never know how you're going to act when the fucking situation presents itself. You may save face, right? But there's always going to be one that's going to doubt that because of what they've seen there. Now, some people said that, hey, he was just, God allowed him to preach and he had to vent and let it out. I get that part, man. But sometimes there's appropriate places to do so. If you're a criminal convict and been involved in prison, then you know what the fuck I'm talking about. He still considers himself active. And he still is active. There could be ramifications for those actions. There's nobody that can sit there and tell me different. I've been doing this shit a long time as far as after in the guys and dealing with a lot of people from particular groups. I know how they operate. Cypress Hill did a video where one person came out with a certain number. Next thing you know, they were fucking getting fined for having that fucking video with that number in it. That's how things operate down that way. They don't play. So people sometimes got to think about their actions. And someone asked me yesterday, is there a reason why we go after more of the Southern rappers? No, I think the Southern rappers are more out there and they are more controversial. They're more dramatic, so it makes for good content. The only time I really, I'm not going to say I have a biased opinion, but have a reaction based upon my past is when I hear anything about the North. And it has nothing to do with Norteños, Sureños. It has to be, I'm from Northern California. You know what I'm saying? I know how a lot of people are raised and bred out there. Fuck the gang shit. This is how it is out up north. Doesn't matter if you're BB, Sureño, Northerner, or whatnot. Everybody knows what time it is. Northern California don't play either. So when people start to put themselves on a pedestal above others based upon geographics is where I have an issue. But as far as a lot of these rappers are from down south that just, do their thing, I respect a lot of them. They do their thing. I listen to them. I think eventually there's going to be some type of suppression because a lot of people don't know how to act on social media. And someone asked me about the Northerners. The Northerners don't do this stuff because they know that if they take one misstep, it could be their career, it could be a fine, it could be whatnot. So the Norteños are more under a control type of atmosphere when it comes to speaking on Norteño biz as far as in the rap game. It's really not going to happen. You're going to hear maybe homeboys or homies and this and that or hood, but you're not going to hear any intricate details about what happened in prison or this and that. That's a big no-no. And that's why a lot of times we're able to go more and bring up issues that happen down south, because every other week you have something going on with the Southern rappers. This rapper's this and this rapper, or this person's doing this, and there's always content there. People like to hear those discussions. And I think as far as being some of us, ex-Northerners, ex-oppositions, and to where we kind of operated and functioned a little bit differently. And we've also functioned around some of their big homies, as well as their subordinates, the camaradas. We know how they really act and conduct themselves in prison. And some of the actions that we see are not what I experienced behind the walls. I had much respect for the other side. You know what I'm saying? For the emeros, for the fucking camaradas, they were fucking good dudes. Straight up respectful, knew how to conduct themselves. And you never hear me ever fucking try to belittle. And the same thing could be said of the NF. They had Manos and Northerners. Everybody conducted themselves in the highest professional manner that they could possibly do. And it showed by the characters of conduct that would happen in prison. So some of the things I see are shocking, man. And I think eventually, if things continue to spiral out of control as they have, eventually I think there's going to be some change. That's just my personal position and my perspective. But for now, this whole episode, like I said, I understand if this is the reason why what I'm hearing, Chito Ranas did what he did. I understand it. I get it. I can't sit there and tell the man that he was wrong for doing it. I think it's a wrong timing. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's life, right? With that said, this is Flacco, Conference Perspective. And like I said, man, regardless if it's a Northerner, Southerner, active or inactive, I'm going to have the same energy when I see issues that come across the table. Now, I want someone to actually confirm if this individual Taliban was actually the one that had him recorded. Because I've heard that from 3 people, but I haven't been able to sit there and 100% corroborate that, man. With that said, It's your boy Flacco. I'm gone.